Hey guys, welcome to a new video. We're gonna shortly talk about Bitcoin, what's next for altcoins, and some interesting altcoins I got my eyes on. First off, if you're looking for a deposit bonus or anything like that, check out Bybit or PrimeXPT below, and let's get straight into it. So, Bitcoin has basically been ranging ever since its dump in August. So these are the main levels I think you should be watching. Last Monday, or this Monday, we deviated below it, but we retook it, and from there on out, we basically retested the top of this range, which has held as resistance so far. So you can see we tested it twice already, and even yesterday we swept this high from here. So overall, we're still range bound. I would say this run up and quite negative sentiment and negative funding rates as well make me think that we might just make this push higher. There's also been a big outflow of the reverse repo facility. So what this is basically money that's stashed away at the Federal Reserve overnight, from which you can get like an interest rate. So this is quite attractive for banks and stuff like that to stash away your money which you're not really using elsewhere. So the fact that this is coming out of here means this capital is likely being used elsewhere. So they're buying stocks or bonds or maybe even crypto. And usually we see like an inverse correlation. So when this goes down, Bitcoin and risk assets tend to go up because, as you can see, let's say from here, from the end of April, we saw an outflow of like 900 billion. So that 900 billion has to go somewhere, and it tends to have like a positive impact on these kind of assets on the higher time frame. To easily journal and track your trades, consider trying out Coin Market Manager. It's as simple as connecting your exchange API to the website to get your analytics ready. Sign up using the link below, get a 14-day trial, and I hope you really enjoy it. I know I've been using it for a while and I can't go without at this point. So good to keep an eye on that because we got a big outflow as well on this Friday. So usually that would mean a bit of positive momentum for stuff like Bitcoin into next week, but we'll have to wait and see. Oh no, on the bigger time frame, I think we're still struggling with this daily 200 EMA and MA. So we rejected it here at the grayscale thing, and now we're kind of hovering against it. And for like a proper higher time frame reversal to occur, I would want to see us retake this region and then go from there. Until then, we're just range bound, and I think it's wise to keep watching this range as well because back down here, I saw many people willing to short, and somehow up here, everyone is all of a sudden starting to long. So you can see how that's the usual buy high, sell low kind of thing, which people tend to do. So try to filter out the noise, just watch the easy levels, and if you're unsure about Bitcoin, which makes sense because it's very choppy, you can always just decide to stick with altcoins or anything that may show a clearer view. So we're gonna get into those altcoins in a bit. One other chart I wanted to show you is this others dominance chart. So I think I've shared this on Twitter maybe a few weeks ago, or maybe quite a few months ago already. So as comparing the 2018, 19, 20 region compared to what we are at now. So others dominance is basically all the altcoins excluding the top 10 coins. So this is not including most stable coins like USDT or Bitcoin or Ether. It has basically all the small and mid caps in there. So what we can see actually is this was in a bear trend since the start of 2022, which makes sense because in a bear market everything sells off a lot. This is where Bitcoin bottomed at 15K, and it had a short rally up until like February, and since then the market has been kind of choppy and just shitty for trading in general, which obviously reflected in this move down. Now I'm not sure, actually I should have put it on regular. I'm not sure if this entire move here is accurate. There might be some changes in the in the calculations in general, but overall the movement still seems quite similar to the 2019-2020 area. So this bottomed in the summer of 2019. Well, now it seems to have bottomed in the summer of 2023 as well, and it's trending up. And we actually saw this because just recently, as we saw a lot of altcoins doing pretty decent, even though Bitcoin was shopping around and making or sweeping lows and stuff. But one good example of the last week was Solana, which was obviously shorted heavily due to the news that FTX was allowed to start liquidating their assets, which has a lot of Solana in there. I think it's up to like 100 million a week or something. But it's good to know that in case of Solana, there's a lot of it still locked until like 27 or 28 even. 2027 or 2028 it is. And I think a lot of it was already mostly known that this was going to happen like weeks prior, and especially by insiders, I think. But the news that they were looking to start liquidating those assets was already known for quite a long time. So I think when the news actually came out, I think it was this dump down here, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was this candle. So it was like 2 or 3% candle. Thing is, back then a lot of shorts started aping in, and I already tweeted like, okay, I'm not sure if this is the moment to do it, because all of a sudden my entire feed was shorting Solana, while the news about them potentially being able to liquidate those assets was already known somewhere around this range. So if you shorted here, like, that made sense in my opinion. But here, when basically the same news was kind of confirmed, that's true, but still, to then start all of a sudden shorting into it, and you also don't see price really moving, that was a big sign for me that, okay, this is likely just going to squeeze out those shorts and grind higher. And that has basically been going on for the entire market for the past week. So we had a higher than expected CPI, PPI number, and this FTX news, but the market digested it pretty well, I would say, as we're at the highs of the week, almost for most coins. And I think that shows a lot of strength. I always say, like, okay, there can be good news, there can be bad news, but the way the market reacts is the most important thing in the end. I think very often we have like topped on very high CPI, which is usually bad, or bottomed, I should say, because you get this initial move down, then a lot of liquidity or stops get triggered, and that's enough for whoever is moving the market, or just to fill positions, stuff like that, or for everyone to sell that wanted to sell. And then the market reverses basically at that point. And the same happens with good news, and that's why you have the buy the rumor, sell the news kind of theory, which people tend to use, which usually works. Good news comes out, it bumps, like similar to the XRP thing from a while ago. So everyone was waiting for this news, then it actually happens. Obviously, you get this huge bump. But from there on out, like, okay, sure, all the buying has happened, all the good news has happened. What else is gonna move the price there? So in this case, I think it's good to see price moving up with some relatively negative news, and that's something you should keep your eyes on. Now, this coin, I actually had this ready just now, obviously, because I got all the steps open, and while I'm starting to record or willing to record this, it's already moving. So this is Say, or however you pronounce it. And I thought it was very similar to Wild, which just had this huge move. So we had this low, we deviated below it, chopped around for a while, and now we had this 60% move right into this resistance here. And I thought this was approximately the similar price action. And I would have targeted this level, but I mean, we're basically already there. If we were to flip this, let's say 15 cent area, I think 17 cents, and to take this high out would make sense as well. But for now, I would just let this play out and see what happens here. And alternatively, you could look for something like a retest on this kind of area. But it's good to keep in mind, a lot of these tokens were down only for a while, especially these newer ones. So Say and World, they kind of launched at the same time. They were down only, then they chopped around. A lot of shorts accumulated, and then they moved. Obviously, this has now already done quite a big move, so I'm not sure if you still wanted to enter here, but it's interesting coin nonetheless. And I think it's good to notice that there's actually these coins that have been sold off this much that are now finally seeing some relief. So this is a lot of shorts that are being squeezed out, or simply a lot of supply that has been accumulated down at these ranges, and which causes for this move up. And I think there's more coins to follow. And as always, I think the newer coins like these, they're much easier to move, and that's why it's no coincidence that you see this on coins like Say, coins like Rolled, and some others. So something else, which is interesting, is Trebor, I think it's called, or TRB. This thing has been on a massive rally, and it's seemingly not stopping at all. So now we recently swept this August low, or high, sorry. So basically the 2022 high. Thing is, if you zoom in here, there's been a lot of shorting going on. So basically people have been shorting this all the way up. It's been on maximum negative funding. People suspect it's being manipulated by some kind of fund, which is called DWF. Whether that's true or not, I won't get into. I'm not sure. Regardless, it's pretty clear that someone apparently accumulated a lot of supply and then has been squeezing it up on spot. And obviously the perpetual pairs have been joining, but they're like consistently trading like 5 to 10% lower than the spot price. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, we saw the same, and I don't think this is going to end any different when this stops. We saw the same on YGG, where we had this kind of move, and the same more recently on something like Cyber, which also had this kind of move. So I would be very careful trading, whether you're longing or shorting this kind of stuff. It can work out pretty well, and I think if you're catching on early on these kind of things, you can probably ride like a small long with a wide stop and then just collect funding rates as this grinds up. But even that is pretty difficult because it's looking toppy like every day a few times, for example. Like all these highs, it's like 20% corrections or more, and you will have to sit through all that while this keeps squeezing up. But it's an interesting coin. I do think the last few ones, like Cyber and YGG, they all topped during the weekend. What the exact reasoning is for that, not sure. Maybe because there's less liquidity or whatever, so they can squeeze out the last few shorts before sending it down, something like that. Not sure. I would suggest to stay away from this stuff. It can be fun for trading, but it's basically like super volatile, and more often than not, you're gonna end up losing money. Whether you're longing or shorting, it's just gonna wick you out if you don't have like a really wide invalidation. So it's interesting what's going on, and it's I think it can be educational to look at what's happening and how it's happening here. But I'd recommend staying away from it because there's plenty of other opportunities which you don't have to be in like these kind of volatile coins for. Like there's enough other things to trade. And then lastly, which kind of adds on this, we have Hi-Fi. So this thing is on a massive run as well. I mean, it doesn't have that much price history here on Binance, but I think, yeah, this is almost like 7x already. So in the end, I think this is going to end up the same. I don't think there's a futures pair on Binance yet, but there is on Bybit, for example. So most of these other coins are on Binance futures as well, which have been, from there, they have been seeing all this huge open interest and stuff like that. So maybe this sustains for a bit longer because there's not that much open interest, I think, but it's still quite crazy. And yeah, these kind of coins, it's crazy what some of these are doing. And that's why I also say, like, okay, when the new cycle comes, try to focus on newer coins. So that's why my favorite or my biggest bags for this cycle are stuff like GMX, Arbitrum, Lido even. Yes, they're a bit bigger. They're not gonna pull as 6x in like 2 weeks or 7x even. But they're still more. They can move more easily because there's no backhaul. They're selling at every little pump, stuff like that. And there's just more hope that these things are gonna be, for example, the new Ethereum or the new Bitcoin. Let's say those kind of coins have kind of stopped since last cycle, but you get what I mean. So interesting stuff happening. There is some action happening for once. So that's great to see. I think we're almost ending Q3 here, like 2 more weeks to go, and I think Q4 will generally be much better for trading, because obviously this has been awful. I think, yes, for Bitcoin even. I mean, we have these sharp moves and then just sideways chop, which you really can't do much except maybe some scalp trades. But even though I'm not sure, well, it depends on the Bitcoin ETF. I'm not sure if Bitcoin will make any massive moves this year still. Maybe towards the end we might start creeping back up a bit. I do think it's possible that this was the bottom for now, on this local bottom. Maybe it's a bit dangerous to say here while we're at resistance, but I think we still have this wick went deeper on Binance Perpetuals and Bybit, for example. So I'm not ruling out the sweep of that at some point. So this is sitting right here, and we front ran it here, while the spot pair, if I go back, didn't go as deep here, so we did sweep that one. I think the reason it didn't do it on the perpetual pairs have sidelined a lot of people, because people were waiting for that, or they were waiting for 23k. Overall, I think this still looks perfectly fine, and I'm just gonna play it level by level. Like, sure, if we go below 25k, I do think we're gonna test like 23, maybe even all the way down to 20, 21. Ultimately, I think that is about the lowest I would see it go in this year, unless some bad news obviously happens, which can happen at any point. But on the other hand, I think any good rumors or signs of an ETF approval would just send us straight back to 30k. All in all, I'm just happy that there's still some stuff happening now. Like altcoins are moving a bit more on their own. They're not completely tied to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also moving separately from stocks a bit. So sometimes Bitcoin is up while stocks are down, and the opposite way around, which is totally fine. And on the other hand, we have stuff like Frentech popping up like crazy. So there's been a lot of action there, and there's just been more stuff going around, which shows some signs of life, which I think is promising, and it's I think it makes sense for the part of the cycle where we're at. So 2022 was obviously our bear market year. Then 23, which is similar to 2019, is basically the recovery year where stuff starts bottoming out, things start creeping back up. There's usually quite a lot of development happening on these projects. And then hopefully 24 and 25 will be where the real fun starts, combined with obviously the halving in the middle of 24. All right, that's all I wanted to say for now, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Check out all the partners below if you're interested in getting a deposit bonus or anything like that. And I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you all a great weekend. Bye-bye.